Hi Rapunzel Nation, it's Naomi Rose here. This is going to be the first video of our Hair Covering in the Professional World series. One of the most common issues that people come to us with, either at shows or through email or through the Wrapunzel fan group, has to do with covering hair professionally. Now, you might have an artistic profession, you might work with children, you might work in a religious community where this is common. And in those cases, you have a little more leeway because people expect you to have individual style, or they expect you to have your hair covered because everybody else in the community is doing it. But those aren't the issues that women are concerned about. What they're concerned about are jobs or employers who don't understand necessarily right off the bat what a headscarf means. And how does one go to an interview or start covering while already on the job at a job like that? Whether it's in the secular American world, whether it's in a different type of religious community from yours, whatever it is, it can be very, very difficult to suddenly change your appearance dramatically. And if you're in the interview, you're not changing anything, but you're walking into a situation where people don't know you. And you're also walking into a situation, at least with these types of jobs, where people don't understand what it means to cover your hair. And if they don't understand, then you run the risk of putting a boundary between yourself and them. That boundary is the scarf. It's a visual thing. They're going to be looking at it, and they're going to have to get mentally past it in order to actually see you as a person with qualifications. Of course, you have qualifications, and I know that you can do whatever it is you're trying to do, but the thing is, for them just to have this visual in their face all the time of something that they're very unfamiliar with makes it difficult for them. So I'm going to say, first of all, and this is maybe a funny thing to say, if you have a way of covering that's less obtrusive than a scarf on your head, and it's part of your value system and you feel beautiful doing it, and you could go either way, then you should do that. If you, like many Jewish women, often cover your hair with a wig, but sometimes cover your hair with a scarf, and you're interviewing for a corporate job or something where people aren't going to understand the scarf, definitely go with the wig. Even if you prefer wearing scarves later, it's much, much easier to put a scarf on your head after you have a written acceptance that you're taking a job, they're offering a job, you're taking a job, and you're going to start covering when you're in the job. At that point, you have some protection, and also at that point, they have an idea of your value as an employee. But when you're sitting down for an interview, they don't yet. So I think there's sort of a scale here. The scale starts at 0. If your hair isn't covered at all, then you're starting out on the same foot as everybody else. If you're wearing a wig, chances are people probably aren't going to be able to tell. So you're still pretty much on the same foot as everybody else. If you're wearing a hat, or if you're wearing a scarf, particularly if you're wearing a scarf, whether it's like this, what I have on my head right now, or whether it's a hijab, or whether it's something else, that, I'm going to say right off the bat, is the most difficult thing to walk into an interview wearing and still come across as first and foremost a skilled employee. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but it's very difficult. And the reason is that people aren't familiar with it. So, okay, let's say you don't have the option of wearing a wig. You don't have the option of not covering your hair at all. Maybe you cover your hair for medical reasons and the only thing that's comfortable on your head is a scarf. Or maybe you cover for religious reasons and the religion you follow mandates that you wear a scarf and not some other type of covering. Those situations are both perfectly plausible, and we've had women come to us with them all the time. Alright, so you have to go to this interview with a scarf on your head, and you know it's the kind of interview where the interviewer isn't going to get it. They're going to look at you and start guessing. So what can you do in that circumstance? What's the secret? How can you minimize that fence that you're putting up between yourself and them? And how can you make it so that A, they don't underestimate you, B, if they do make assumptions, you kill them pretty quick, and C, your skills speak for themselves, and your personality speaks for itself, and your confidence speaks for itself, and the scarf doesn't get in the way of what you're trying to say and what you're trying to give over to them. So that's really what this video series is going to be about. There's several little tips I can give you, but even in the best of times, I'm going to warn you that this is a very, very challenging issue. If you go in there and you're confident and you do everything right, you still have a good chance of getting the job, but it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And I've had many circumstances where I felt like, wow, I wish I could be a little bit more covert about this, but in my circumstances I wasn't able to, and it was very difficult. But what you do gain is you gain the strength from sticking to your guns, whether it's your religious values that make you cover your hair this way, whether it's a medical circumstance that makes you do it, whether you're just more comfortable. You are, and you should be, able to exercise your right to put whatever you want on your head and not be called a lesser person for it. You should not feel like you have any less skill or any less professional of a presentation than somebody that walks in there like everybody else with blow-dried hair and a three-piece suit. You are still the professional that you know you can be, and we just have to find a way of making sure that we project that in the interview. So I'm going to give over a couple secrets in this series of how to do that. I'm going to do just one quick one right now since I've already been talking for a while. And that quick one is going to be know your colors. Okay, what do I mean by know your colors? Everyone is going to have a different set or spectrum or range of colors that really, really makes them feel confident, beautiful, and powerful when they wear it. There are several different systems and books that have been published about this, and you'll probably have heard things like winter tones and summer tones, or maybe you've heard of dressing your truth, which is another system that a lot of women are into. That matches either your skin tone or your personality or your eye color, whatever it is, to a certain range of colors and says this is what it is. This is what you're going to look good in. So many of those things are helpful, but if you're not into that, you don't have to be. You really can learn from experience. If you have some item in your closet that every time you really want to make a good impression, you always go for it, that's going to be a clue. I think that for me, this dark blue really makes me feel confident. It makes me feel like I can walk into a room and demonstrate that I'm in control, that I have skills, that I feel beautiful, that I feel competent. And for you, it could be something else. It could be pink, it could be violet. I think the only thing I would recommend is to take some experiments before you walk in there. Don't make it the first time that you've worn some color that you've never worn before. Go for the color that's in your closet, or the range of colors that's in your closet, that makes you feel like you. And I think that this is a personal opinion. I think this is the time to feel comfortable and solid and relaxed. It's probably not the time to feel very, very overdone and out there. So I would stay away from things like florals. I would stay away from things like extremely wild patterns. I would stay away from things like lots and lots of sparkles. Again, of course, it all depends on the job, but we're talking right now about corporate jobs where people don't really understand what's going on. So I want to say, without being too overt about it, that you should tone it down. Not tone it down as in squash your personality, but tone it down as in channel your personality through your headscarf. And the first place to do that is with knowing your colors. So whether you have green eyes and you know that green makes them very intense, or whether you have beautiful olive skin and you know that certain colors of like gold and tangerine really stand out on you, something that makes you striking and confident, those are the colors you want to go for in a headscarf for a job interview. Not very patterned, but very, very striking and impressionable. So lesson number 1, know your colors. And we will be back on this subject with a few more secrets in the second video. And I can't wait to talk to you then. Bye, everybody.